upgradation of the system can be done very easily with this form. So, knowledge-driven society helps the community, the whole community, to be more smarter. Cognition-enabled machines as well as devices in homes, offices, motels, coffee houses, everything can get connected. That's why it's not just connecting mobile phones and computing devices, but it's also a connection of things to keep the system more smarter. The trend of IoT in India is very, very high. We could see that it is around 200% of upgradation. IoT, although it's extension of internet, the sensor devices that are sending the data to the cloud for analytics need lot of learning. So typically, the learning process, which is machine-oriented, which is therefore called as machine learning, right? The machine-oriented learning process, which happens in cloud, has some sort of issues. Because if you see a normal IoT system, the sensors will be sending data to the cloud, and the cloud has to process or do some sort of analytics. And from the analytics, the inferences will be given to some sort of actuators. It could even be mechanical actuators, or it could even be some sort of alarms or some settings that give the information to a larger intended communities. But there are issues if you simply submit the data directly to the cloud. The issues are like transferring huge volume of data, as well as the privacy of the data. The data has to be transferred to the cloud, which is typically hosted in the third-party systems. There comes the scenario of federated learning, where the data, if it's really privacy oriented, especially the studying the video, studying the behavior, human behavior, through some by capturing some videos of the own personality or from a smart city, should not be sent to the cloud, and which could be visible to multiple people. So that should be avoided. And not only that, the data is also very high. So this could be avoided. So in federated learning, what happens is it doesn't send all the data to the cloud, but it just send a snippet of the modeling, the model setup. So that means if you see the normal architecture of FL, federated learning, it will be some sort of global learning process that is there in the cloud, and there can be some distributed kind of learning models that are at the remote decentralized locations. With the data that are available in this sensor location or region could be analyzed and processed in the edge itself with the model that is shared from the global model. And the differences or the variations that are there in this differential model, the decentralized locations, are then finally shared to the global model for updating the inferences that are found in the system. This is a typical example, like you want to type the keywords in the mobile, and that the next word what you have to find, or this kind of information need not be sent to the cloud for processing, but it can be done in the local region itself or in your mobile device itself, and then the model alone will be updated and it will be sent to the cloud. So typically there are like horizontal federated learning, vertical federated learning, meta learning, as well as rewarded as well as supervised and unsupervised federated learning concepts in this federated learning. Where horizontal federated learning means you send the modeling parameters, assuming that the regions will have different data. And in vertical FL, you send the model modeling. I mean, here the modeling parameters will be constant, whereas here the modeling parameters may not be constant. So for different parameters, you will have to define and design the learning process here. Meta learning and rewarded learning are kind of learning where meta learning provides a hierarchical study. Rewarded FL provides rewards for any sort of inferences that are there, and these are very commonly used learning processes. Talking about the metrics you have in terms of performance, in terms of algorithm, and in terms of security, several list of metrics which could be considered when you go for learning. While we try to design such kind of learning algorithms as well as learning processes, you typically can end up with large volume of energy consumption, which should be properly cared or properly controlled. There are some set of mechanisms which you can adopt, which is the core part of our paper here. Like you can tune the FL algorithm with some tunable parameters that fits exactly for your algorithm, for your architecture. Or you could design energy efficient languages, or you could tune computing architectures. You could tune our computing architecture such as only a portion of the data goes to the GPU, and you could schedule FL task accordingly. These are some set of mechanisms which you can adopt to reduce the energy consumption in applications. And considering the already existing different FL enabled applications, here we have I have classified the 6 applications that are there in the literatures, and I have shown which model they have followed, which federated learning model they have followed, and in which architecture, which kind of architecture they have targeted this system. Yeah, so the whole work behind this research is about identifying the list of federated learning algorithms as well as the energy efficient mechanisms that can be adopted, that can be researched in the FL learning processes. So these are few references, and thanks for listening.
So, attendee or delegates, conference delegates, if you have any questions, then you can send me through email, or you can text in this message box or chat box, sorry, so that we can ask or later, because of this time difference and technical constraint, we are organizing this event as a virtual, and we have a pre-recorded videos of the authors or conference delegates. So if you have any questions, then you can send that your question on a chat box, so we can ask to the author later, and we can reply through the emails to you. Tanuja madam, can we go for the second paper?
Yes, sir, because you have told us the question and answers. I'm having one question, so I will ask later on, sir. No issue.
Okay. And I think you will review all 3 papers at the end of this session.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we'll play the second video. Second paper is that is paper ID is 88, and the title of paper is selection of characteristic by hybrid methods, RFE, Ridge, Lasso, and Bayesian for the power forecast for a photovoltaic system. And the author is George Cruz, then Wilson Mamani, Christian Romero, and Ferdinand Pineda. Okay.
Selection of characteristics by hybrid method, RFE, Ridge, Lasso, and Bayesian for the power forecast for a photovoltaic system. we propose a hybrid selection method. First, we apply the elimination of recursive feature elimination, RFE, within the selection of subsets, and then to the obtained result, we apply the following contraction regularization methods: lasso, ridge, and Bayesian ridge. Then the results were validated demonstrating linearity, normality of the error terms without autocorrelation, and homoscedasticity. All four prediction models had an accuracy greater than 99%. Training time was reduced by 71% and 36% for RFE Ridge and RFE OLS, respectively. Okay. Methods. First, train the model in the training group using all predictors. 2. Calculate model performance. 3. Calculate the importance of variables or classifications. 4. For each subset size, do keep the most important variables. Optional, pre-process the data. Train the model in the training group using predictors. Calculate the model performance. Optional, recalculate rankings for each predictor. And of 4, then calculate the performance profile on the subset, determine the appropriate number of predictors, and finally, use the model corresponding to the optimal subset. Dataset were obtained from Peru and Juliaca City here. These are the variables: voltage AC, current AC, active power, apparent power, reactive power, frequency, power factor, total energy, daily energy, voltage DC, current DC, power DC, irradiance, module temperature, and environment temperature. The variables eliminated with RFE were total energy, were eliminated. Also, daily energy were eliminated, and irradiance. While the variable eliminated by lasso was frequency. In all cases, we see that the root mean square errors were reduced for RFE lasso by 0.15%, while for RFE Bayesian ridge by 0.06%. These are the results: the correlation, the validation, the linearity. Here on graphics for OLS, ridge, lasso, and Bayesian ridge. Also, another method of validation is the normality of error terms. Okay, you can validate the distribution OLS and distribution reach. Okay, normal distribution in all cases. And another validation of the results is the homoscedasticity. Here you can see homoscedasticity for OLS and homoscedasticity for reach. Description and analysis of the results. Here you can see in table 3 RFE with OLS and shrink range. These are the comparison of methods. You can see RFE OLS versus OLS and RFE LASSO versus LASSO. You can see the results, the mean absolute error, the square root error, determination coefficient, coefficient of determination, training time, and test time. Also on table 4 RFE with OLS and shrink range. The comparison methods RFE reach versus reach, RFE Bayesian reach versus Bayesian reach. This is the mean absolute error, square root error, determination coefficient, and coefficient of determination, training time, and test time. Conclusions. 4 models were made with an accuracy greater than 99% in all cases. 3 RFE proposals are presented. RFE reach, RFE LASSO, and RFE Bayesian reach. Training time was reduced by 71% for RFE reach over reach and 36% RFE OLS over OLS. The variables eliminated with RFE reach and RFE Bayesian reach were total energy and daily energy and irradiance. And additionally, with the variable eliminated by RFE LASSO was frequency. In all cases, we see that the root mean square errors were reduced for RFE LASSO by 0.15% over LASSO, while for RFE Bayesian reach by 0.06% over Bayesian reach. From all that has been done, we note that the proposed hybrid method, by eliminating variables that are not significant for the system, achieves a decrease in training times without losing accuracy in predictions. The results can be improved by implementing algorithms in the preprocessing stages, such as imputation of values, or perform techniques as linear regression, such neural networks or XGBoost. Thank you very much.
So third paper of this session is paper ID is 233, and the title of this paper is glaucoma detection using features of optic nerve head, CDR, and ISNT from fundus image of eye. And author is Karthik Thakkar, Dr. Kinjan Chauhan, Anand Sudhalkar, Dr. Aditya Sudhalkar, and Ravi Gulati.
Myself, Karthik Thakkar. I'm an assistant professor in BCA department of Vivekanand College. I'm here with my guide, Dr. Ravi Gulati sir, Associate Professor in Computer Science Department of Veer Masad Gujarat University. And here I'm presenting my research presentation on glaucoma detection using features of optic nerve head, CDR and ISNT from the fundus image of the eye. Here's the agenda that we are covering in this presentation, and let's begin with the introduction. Human eyes suffer from many disorders like cataract, color blindness, diabetic retinopathy, and glaucoma. And among all these diseases and disorders, glaucoma is the leading cause of blindness. Glaucoma can be said as a silent theft of the vision. It is an ocular disease which results in damage of the optic nerve leading to the partial or complete blindness. And that because glaucoma does not have any symptoms or it does not have any pain, so that the patient will not get to know about the disorder, and it will very slow in progress. So silently it will narrow down the vision of the patient. It can be tested by using the OCT and perimetry eye test. Ophthalmologist can perform the OCT test or perimetry test or tonometry test for diagnosing the glaucoma. Here you can see the normal view and the extreme glaucoma view by the patient, and here as you can see the normal view of the patient can be very clear and it can see the full picture, and as long the glaucoma start developing, it will narrow down the vision and it will appear into the tunnel vision, something like this. Okay, and in extreme glaucoma the patient may have the complete blindness, and it will be permanent. Glaucoma is not reversible. That means that the optic nerve which get damaged, it will not be regenerated. So the vision, once the vision get lost, it will not be regained. Now let's see how the glaucoma develops. Our eye contains the RNFL bundle, which is said to be a retinal nerve fiber layer, which are responsible to send the visual information from the eye to brain. Now, when the intraocular pressure in our eye increases more than 21 mg, it will damages this RNFL, and it will prevent the retinal nerves to send the visual signals to the brain. And that's why the patient will feel that the vision is get narrowing from all the sides, or either from the any one side. It can cause the permanent, partial or complete blindness. So the main problem is to detect this loss of vision, or to detect the glaucoma by the ophthalmologist in its very early stage, before the RNFL start get losing. So our problem statement will be like, there are different tests available to detect glaucoma, like as I said, tonometry to find out the intraocular pressure, perimetry that will check the patient's ability to see the object, and optical coherence tomography, that is the OCT test. It's a very popular test which will find out the thickness of the retinal nerves. The problem about all these states is these states are need to be conducted on regular eye checkup. Okay, it should be conducted on regular basis during the all eye checkup. So the patient need to go to the ophthalmologist after 6 months and need to check for this IOP or OCT, take up the OCT test to find out whether the patient is developing glaucoma or not. Okay, now all these states are very expensive, and it is not available to all the ophthalmologists around. So to solve this, we can take up the another technique. We can analyze the fundus images. Now, what are the fundus images? Fundus images are the back view of the eye, which can be taken from normal ophthalmoscope. It is called the fundus camera, and it is available to all the ophthalmologists, right? So we can check those images, analyze those images to find out whether the patient is likely to get glaucoma in the nearest future or not. Here you can see the example of fundus image. Okay, fundus image, it is a back view of the eye, and here you can see some of the properties of the fundus image, like these are the blood vessels. The bigger circle you can see is a optic disc, and the smaller circle inside that is called the optic cup. Okay, and the circle is forming by using the optic disc and optic curve is called neuroretinal ring. Okay, it is called the neuroretinal ring. So we can check whether the patient is likely to get glaucoma or not by checking the properties of optic curve and optic disc. Okay, and in this research we are performing the properties by checking CDR and ISNT. CDR is a cup to disc ratio which can be calculated from the size of the optic curve and optic disc, and ISNT are the distance between the optic curve and optic disc from all the sides. Okay, ISNT stands for inferior, that is this distance, superior, that is this distance, nasal, that means it is a nose side difference, and the temporal. Okay, so it will check up the distance from all the sides between the optic curve and optic disc. And the goal of this study is to attain the method to detect the glaucoma using CDR and ISNT feature obtained from the digital fundus image processing. Let us look at some of the literature surveys that performed by the different researchers during these years. In a latest way, in a 2020, Anindita Saptarini have performed the feature extraction by using the correlation feature selection method, and will extract the features of optic nerve head. Optic nerve head contains the optic cup and optic disc. Okay, so feature extraction get the result of 95.24% accuracy. In the same way, in 2019, June Carrera have performed the threshold technique. This threshold technique also used in this research, and it will detect whether the patient is glaucomatous or not by using the thresholding technique. Contains the result of 88.50% accuracy. But in that paper, we didn't find any data set defined, and the accuracy is very low compared to the different researches. Okay, due to some time limitation, I'm not going all these literature surveys, but these are the important researches that have been done in this area. Let us jump to the proposed algorithm for glaucoma detection. Our algorithm works in 4 phases, where phase 1 is a pre-processing phase. In phase 1, we are acquiring the image and cropping the image to remove the normal tags and all, and will perform some morphological operations like transformation and dilation to resize the image or to remove the noise. Then in phase 2, we are it is a segmentation phase. Okay, so phase 2 contains the detection of optic curve and optic disc, and we segment the optic curve and optic disc by using the circular Rao transformation and by using the color thresholding technique. Optic disc is segmented using the circular Rao transformation, and optic curve is segmented using the color thresholding. Okay, in phase 3, we analyze this optic curve and optic disc for calculating the CDR and for analyzing the ISNT distances. Okay, and by using the ISNT distance and CDR, we perform the classification, rule-based classification, to classify whether the particular image is glaucomatous, healthy, or unresolved. Here you can see the output of the GUI tool that we have developed, where this image is normal image, original image given as an input, and this image contains the output image, which contains all the optic curve, optic disc, and all the distances between those optic curve and optic disc, and it will give the result whether the particular image is glaucomatous or normal. We have experimented our algorithm on 108 private dataset images taken from the real patients of the Sudharkar Eye Hospital situated at Baroda. We have randomly selected the patient for which our perimetry and OCT reports are available, so that we can compare our research, compare our result with those perimetry and OCT data. Okay, and the result of the algorithm was compared with the OCT and perimetry reports for the same patient to calculate the accuracy of the algorithm. Here is the details of our research output, where among the 108 private images, we find out the 60 images to be true positive, 38 images to be true negative. There are 3 abnormal images, false positive 1 image, and 6 are the false negative, which gives the precision of 98.00%, specificity of 97.43%, sensitivity of 91.09%, and F score for 94.48%. So overall accuracy or F score, we can say it is a 94.48%. Let's jump to the conclusion. So we have proposed a framework which works in four phases, starting from image processing, followed by segmentation phase, calculation and analysis phase, and the classification at last. So there are four phases, and we have also developed the GUI tools using the MATLAB to accurately implement our algorithm in friendly way, experimented on 108 images with our algorithm, and result what compares with the perimetry and OCT reports, and we get accurate result from both of the thing, and we got a result which when compared with the previous research is proven to be more effective and accurate techniques. This work can be enhanced by some of the other techniques, say like we can extract more features from the retinal fundus images like vascular structure or color intensity of the optic curve, or textural features can be extracted to get the more accurate results. Then we can use some another techniques like find out the notching, find out the wedge shape defect, RNFL loss by using the textural analysis. Okay, so these techniques can also be proven to be accurate for detecting whether the patient is glucomatous or not. And third thing which can be improved in this algorithm is our algorithm works on only one image to detect whether it is glucomatous or not, but the glaucoma is a progressive disease, and by taking the consecutive image of the same patient around the 3 or 4 or 6 months period, we can check the regular we can check how the glaucoma is progressive, or how the glaucoma is progressing into the particular patient at the regular interval. Here are the references that we have used in this presentation. Thank you so much.
So that was the third paper in this session, and these are the all three papers of session 1A1. So I request Dr. Tanuja Dope to review all these three papers, and I also means inform to all the attendees that if you have any questions or any query regarding this paper, then you can send us the email so that we can forward to the authors, and you will get the response. And if you have right now any question, then you can also text in a chat box. Madam, Dr. Tanuja Dope, if you have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My first question to the first presenter regarding energy efficient aspect of federated learning. Uh, so have you compared the different approaches which are currently used in federated learning, so that you can optimize the first aspect about energy efficiency, and have you tried on the actual you can say the real time systems? So uh, as per my knowledge, this paper is reviewed. So have you gone through the some of the practically implemented paper also, so that in future you will have the scope for your research?
Dr. Benedict, are you listening to the questions? So if you want to answer to the question, then I can make you the presenter. Dr. Benedict? Yes, just a minute. Thank you. Bhargav. Yes, Dr. Benedict. Now you can answer the question.
Yeah, madam. Actually, we earlier that energy analysis part for learning algorithms were done. Several, very few people have worked on this energy consumption analysis part of learning algorithms. So therefore, what I have done is went through the literature survey and identified the existing federated learning algorithms and the applications based on that federated learning algorithms. And no, the energy analysis can be studied, as well as the optimization of that energy analysis can be made through some certain mechanisms. That all points were recorded from the literature survey. For example, going through each and every algorithm, if, for example, instead of using float 32, reducing that to float 16 in the algorithm could reduce the energy consumption. So these are the some of the mechanisms that we have identified from the literature survey.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Now the second question is that to second presenter, that is the paper ID 88, is that when you talk about the various data set, you were focusing about particular characteristics, or you work on the way, different characteristics? Hello?
Just a minute, madam. Dr. Cruz, are you there? Madam, he is not here right now.
Okay, no issue, sir. Then the last question is that for paper ID 233,
Yes.
so the author has tried this on how many data set? The method which he has used. So, what will be the new number of patient he has tried on that, or he has only simulated that?
Karthik, you want to answer the question? Karthik?
Hello.
Yes, you want to?
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we have taken an image of 108 patient from the local hospital situated at Vadodara,
Okay.
and we have taken those images for which we have already have the OCT and perimetry tests available. So I am experimented my research on 108 patients and get to compared with those results with the perimetry and OCT, and that's how I have completed the experiment and calculate the result.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Karthik. Just a minute, madam. Yes, ma'am. You may continue.
Okay, no, that's all, sir. So after the shall I quit, or I should be in the room only, sir? Can you please guide me?
If you want to attend the second session, then you may continue. I
Okay.
can make you the attendee, and we can start the second session.
Okay. Sir, now my session was from 10 to 11 now. So
Yes.
it is my request that I will be joining the second as per my free time. So I will be sending you message. After that, I will be joining it. So
Okay,
from my side, sir, from my side, anything, anything you can say any work is pending for the session?
No, madam. Thank you very much, madam, for
Okay.
sparing the time for this international conference, that is IC SoftCon 2020. Thank you very much.
Sir, I am very much grateful to all the organizing committee member and especially to you because this is the first conference which I have seen during my 5 years, 5 to 10 years tenure that you have made a very rigorous review of the papers and very rigorously you selected the you selected selective papers. So thanks a lot to all.
And we are also learning this organizing the conference online
Oh,
virtually.
yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
these
It
are
is
our
a
like
new.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, madam.
This
Thank you
is
very much, madam.
thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. I will call you back, sir. Okay, bye.
Bye. So just give me 1 minute. We will start our second session. That is a B1 after 1 minute.